This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
We are joined by Danny West from HawgSports.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, here on an early edition of Halftime. Danny, it has been about a handful of days since it's been a week since the the early signing period started. It has come and gone now, and have you been able to rest up at all since the craziness of those? Really, it's just the first day. It's not those 3 days.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good relaxation the last few days. We've, truth be told, guys, I'm still in Kansas City. We're still doing family stuff in Kansas City this week, but yeah, it's been a good relaxing trip. Finally, it seemed like a month of just a whirlwind there, but finally slowing down a little bit, trying to catch our breath for the next big wave that's sure to come. Obviously, January 4th through the 8th, going to be a really busy time again for Arkansas. Got several transfers that are expected to be coming in. We know of, at least one so far, the tight end transfer out of North Texas, Jake Roberts. Arkansas has already offered his little brother, too, for the class of 2025. So trying to double back and check off the boxes on the back end of that one, too. But probably going to see several defensive players in that weekend, if I had to guess. Obviously, Travis Williams got a little bit of a late start, but trying to make up for that and put the finishing touches on this class. But, yeah, it's hard to believe it's already been a week, and starting to put that one behind us already and move on to the remaining targets, the 2024 targets, and obviously transfers are going to dominate the headlines over the next few weeks, I would assume.
Yeah, they most definitely are, and it looks to me like Arkansas got a couple of good ones that came in that decided to join the program, getting John Morgan, a good edge rusher out of Pitt, and Antonio Greer, linebacker who spent most of the year injured but had been productive when he was healthy during his career at South Florida. I mean, these are guys that are plug and play. They're coming here to play, and they're coming here to start, and they're coming here to be productive in the SEC, because we see them all say it's like John Morgan said, big boy football, SEC. He played for a good program. He played in a decent league, but it isn't the SEC, and that seems to matter a lot. Yeah,
I think fans ought to be excited about that guy. I think I put on Twitter as soon as he committed, you'll take another Jordan Dominic. Jordan never had 6.5 tackles in the season. I think he got close last year, maybe 5.5 down at Georgia Tech, and obviously put up 6.5 this year. That's a really big number in the SEC. Obviously helped Arkansas lead the SEC for throughout the year and led the country for the better part of it in sacks this year. And we've made a big deal about that the last few years, if we're being honest. Arkansas's lack of a pass rush. Now, granted, number 42 has a lot to do with that, or it did, and now obviously Drew Sanders not available anymore. But if this John Morgan can be anything like Jordan Dominic, I'm sure you'll be excited about him next year. It's kind of been the trend. You mentioned veteran guys. It seems to me that they want either a big body or a big body of work when it comes to transfers. That's kind of been the trend. And most of the guys that they brought in so far have had both, really old, mature, seasoned veteran guys, been in the weight room for 3 or 4 years, have played for 3 or 4 years. And typically, there's a lot of, we'll call them sexy names that hit the portal after a year, and you don't see Arkansas just make a move immediately. I think people are confused by that. They see that former 4- to 5-star guy in the transfer portal after 6-12 months, and everybody in Arkansas says, hey, there's a connection there. The kid wanted to come to Arkansas out of high school. Well, first of all, he probably should have when he had the chance. And secondly, there's really not a big body of work there for Sam Pittman to look at and say, this is the type of player we'd be getting. This is the type of student he would be in the classroom, type of person he'd be in the community. All those things matter, too. So to this particular coaching staff, I'm saying. So, we've seen them pass on quite a few guys, and the trend continues. They're still going after these really old, experienced guys. And I seem to like that a little bit. It seems like you know what you're getting more often than not.
Yeah, Danny, I talked to one of my buddies, a Florida alum, and he was talking about that lineman that Pittman recruited at Georgia that's coming to Arkansas. He said he would start right away. What are your? Do you think he's going to start if he comes in and doing things the right way? Is he talented enough to start on that offensive line?
Yeah, I think he's good enough. You know, they were playing him at tackle down there, Matt, and I'm not sure he's a tackle.
Right.
And, I think they figured that out, and I think Joshua Braun himself figured that out. And, you know, he was simply playing out of place there right before he got into the portal there. But I think he's a guard. Obviously, you've got some things you can do with Bo Limmer going to the center spot potentially for next year. And we heard Coach Pittman talk quite a bit about that this past week, trying to sell him on that and get him back for next year. And there's a lot to that. You know, it's a big job for anybody, but I think Bo would be fine at that. And then, of course, opens up a guard spot. So yeah, I think they're projecting this guy to come in and start right away anyway. And I don't think they're done on that O-line yet. I think they realized, you know, throughout the course of the year that one thing to be bigger and stronger and all that stuff in August than your competition. But man, you start losing weight throughout the year, and you know, we could talk all day about strength and conditioning and nutrition and some of the things that went on there, but man, it just seemed like they lost a lot of push. And sometimes down the final stretch, yeah, that has a lot to do with how you're taking care of them in the weight room, nutrition, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, man, it seems like the talent could still use a little bit of an uptick too. So it wouldn't shock me if they're going to swing for the fences now for maybe an offensive tackle or two in the transfer portal. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, I don't think they're done on that O-line yet. I think they've identified some issues.
Yeah, I thought tackle would be something that they would be attacking in that transfer portal, because I mean, I know there are guys, you know, that were backup tackles this last year that they like and would like to see play, but you got to create competition too, you know, within the team for somebody to earn a starting spot. I'm thinking of like someone like Marion Harris. So, you know, to bring in more established guys certainly creates that sort of competition, and it's healthy competition at the same time. And really, I mean, you need a little more defensive tackle too. You know, I think right now they need tackles on both sides of the ball.
I'm with you on that. You know, I heard Coach Pittman say this: if you want an offensive lineman to learn every position, play him at center. And I think there's a lot to that. And point being, they've had several like that. Guys that you talked about, Marion Harris, Tykeus Crawford, maybe some of these guys that have been backups at the tackle positions, you know, with the bowl game, they're able to slide down closer to the ball, center guard spots, learn more. I think there's a lot of value in those 15 practices that we probably haven't even talked about. You basically get another spring ball, you know, after before the first of the year. So that's a really good thing. I think some of those guys have taken some strides, but yeah, still you got to fill some immediate spots, man. There were times this year where they just looked lost on the edge, and I think they can improve their athleticism at the tackle spots. I think they've probably taken a dip if you compare it to where they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It seemed like they were getting a little more higher caliber offensive tackle out of high school. And I think they're close on some of these 2024 guys. They missed on several in 23 that probably could have put this class over the top. You mentioned defensive tackle recruiting. We saw them bring in several 4- or 5-star types early in the year. And then, of course, signing day rolls around and you didn't get any of them. Well, the good news is you are getting the right guys on campus. They are still interested, but now you got to find a way to close the deal, man. There's I'm not going to say a long way to go on the offensive and defensive lines, but they've still got plenty of work to do on both.
Danny, Phil and I were talking, and I was surprised that I guess all three of those running backs there are happy and healthy, and I was surprised one of them maybe didn't transfer, because I think they're all three the starting caliber type. I mean, they're studs. That being said, are we getting any good running back recruits? Are these three guys going to be our guys next year, or is there anybody else coming in?
Matt, you got to see this Isaiah Augustave out of Florida, Naples, Florida, 4-star kid, 6'2", 195. not sure who he might remind you of back in your playing days at Arkansas, but he's a freak show, and I think you're going to love the kid. He's everything you want, man. Really a well-rounded back. He was only a 3-star when he committed last June. Started going to camps immediately over the summer, and everybody in the country just fell in love with him. And he took off. He soared up the rankings. Isaiah's a really good player, man. Now, having said that, you just mentioned some really good ones that are coming back next year or slated to anyway, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out. But, with RW this year, Dominion, of course, as a true freshman, Dominique Johnson goes down early.
I like Dominion, Danny. I'm a big fan of his, yeah.
Yeah, so, I would venture to say this kid come in and play for just about anybody, talking about Isaiah. But, man, they are so deep next year, I'm just not sure how much you'll need him. But, typically, if they're good enough to play as a freshman, you see them as a freshman. So we'll see if that continues. But this kid's really good, man. You need to look him up. You're going to like this kid.
This receiver that that Arkansas signed out of A&M Commerce, Andrew Armstrong, I mean, he was really productive for A&M Commerce this last year, and I guess he might have been maybe not under-recruited because he was so small coming out of high school, but he's grown enough to where the coaches feel like he can withstand playing in the SEC. Is this somebody that can just come in and make a dent for Arkansas immediately?
I would think so. We saw Landers do it. Obviously, everybody expected Hazelwood to do it last year, but I'm not sure everybody knew what to expect with Matt Landers coming down from Toledo. Similar background there, I would say. Andrew's been in college for what seems like forever. Came out of Dallas Bishop Dunn High School, didn't have a lot of offers. Went to A&M Commerce, redshirted. Of course, COVID took over in 2020, so he didn't see the field in his first 2 years of college down there, and that's really tough for a lot of guys, but he stuck it out. Had a pretty decent 2021, and then this past year just blew up. He goes over 1,000. I think he had 13 touchdowns on the year, maybe close to 60 grabs. I think he's listed at 6'6". I don't think he's 6'6". I think he's more 6'4". He's pretty slim now, but I think he's big enough. And you see what Matt Landers was able to do. I think he's more in that role where you just kind of throw it up, going to win a lot of 50-50 balls for you. And I think he's athletic enough to, make some plays in the open field and pull away from people too. But again, the trend continues there too. They go out and they probably could have got a lot of flashy names, to be honest with you, at the wide receiver spot, guys that you probably would have recognized as 4-stars from a year ago coming out of high school. But to go and get a really experienced guy like that, I think that's what they were looking for, especially with size. That's kind of been the trend that we've talked about. So many of these guys are really grown men, and there's another one. He comes in now. He's not going to be the first one off the bus, but you go line up against 6'4", 200. That's going to be a problem for a lot of people.
Hey, last thing here. You hear a lot of coaches right now talking about that there needs to be a change in the early signing period, or just to do away with it. And when you start hearing things from coaches like that, sooner or later, this kind of thing happens. I think we saw that with the transfer portal and the windows that we're currently operating under. We started hearing that from coaches, and then a few months later it happened. Is the early signing period on its deathbed?
Could be, but I tell you, man, it's tough to put anything in place nowadays in sports in general, but especially college football. Put it in place and then take it away. Especially with NIL transfer rules, stuff like that. It would surprise me if that type of stuff ever goes away. But sure, I think there's a lot you can mess with the early signing period. I would caution, not to make it any sooner, any earlier than what it is. If anything, maybe push it back January. That there's a lot you can do in January with enrollment dates. It makes it a little more tough. Kids most of the time want to be on campus in January now. So, you kind of almost have to go back and push it from the front end. But, man, it just seems to me, guys, that December is early enough. Now, I know a lot of coaches would probably tell you, well, if they're ready and willing to sign in September, why not go ahead and get it out of the way, or August, whatever the case may be. Well, you look at examples every year, and Arkansas has had a couple this past year, guys who were super committed to you in August and September talking about, I had one guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's recently moved on and signed with another SEC team. But he was telling me in September, man, they ought to just let me move in already, on campus. I'm ready to come and ready to start playing immediately. And then he flips right there, 2 or 3 days before signing day. So probably not a guy that would have worked out had he signed in September, August, whatever the case may have been. He's probably going to enter the transfer portal by Christmas. So you could be creating a even bigger mess by doing that. So I would just caution with that. I think we're early enough with December and probably a little bit too early still for a lot of these kids. So wish I had the clear and concise answer for you on that one, Phil. It's going to take somebody a lot smarter than me.
Yeah. We'll leave it there, Danny. I appreciate you hopping on with us. Hope you have a good new year and enjoy your family up there in Kansas City, and we'll revisit sometime soon. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Danny.
Danny West, HawgSports.com.
He's the man.
Our Liberty Bowl coverage is presented by High Tech Truck Refrigeration Service at 6410 Alma Highway in Van Buren, specializing in transport refrigeration repairs since 1996. They'll repair dry vans, flatbeds, hopper trailers. There's acres of parking available for your truck at low monthly rates. They carry over 3,000 parts in stock at all times, genuine Thermo King and Carrier parts, as well as many aftermarket parts. And they have trailer rentals available as well. That's High Tech Truck Refrigeration Service, hightechtruck.com, 479-474-2220. We're back with more halftime after a quick break.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet Online, where the game starts.